And we are live. Hey, y'all. Welcome. Um, I'm not, for some reason, I'm not picking the chat up. Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, there I go. Got it. Okay, welcome everybody. It's Jen here, Lady Wolverton. Please just call me Jen. Today, I have a very, very special guest. Not only my friend, but the author of the book that we're discussing today, Titans of the Stars. And we've been meaning to do this for a while, and I'm so glad to finally get to do this. And Elamar, if you would introduce yourself, please.
Oh my gosh, I'm the guest today. Well, I'm always a guest on your channel, but I'm a guest here. Ooh, I'm blushing. I'm already blushing. Johnny, you win. I didn't even answer anything. I'm already blushing. So all friends here. I see everybody's joining. I see Johnny, we're in the chat first. Then I see David. I see Chrissy. I see Moni G. Hi everybody. It is so awesome to be here. We're going to be discussing my book today, so it's going to be so much fun. And of course, we can talk anything too. So it's just not the stuff. I love hanging out with everybody, so we can make it whatever you want it to be. But today is, I guess, talking about my book. So thank you, Jen, for having me. And I see a surprise. I didn't know that Johnny will be joining. So Johnny Be Crazy, my co-host from Westworld, is joining us. So that is great support and fear, because I never know what's gonna happen when Johnny's here. Johnny Be Crazy, good. So thank you for having me, guys. Johnny?
Yeah, don't worry. I'll try to keep it PG-13. Although your book could be XXX rated or NC-17, possibly. I don't know.
NC-17,
probably. Oh, good.
There's some. Anyways, it is fantastic to be able to talk about this book. I love this book. It is really good. That's kind of all I have to say. We're just here to praise Elamar and the fact that she is some kind of superhuman. She is a host. She has to be a host confirmed because she is a great mom. She keeps her house in order. She is on a live stream every freaking day now. She's writing a book. She's wrote a book. She's writing another book. There's other things she's done I can't even think of. But she is the bomb, and go ahead and just blush. We love you.
And something else I want to say about this panel. It's a little bit of background. I think we all met in Bangers, right? Johnny, Elamar, and Misha was needing to be gone for a little bit, and Cammie reached out to Elamar for me, and now you're not a guest on Book Club, you're a permanent panelist. And now we've become really good friends. And one thing I want to say about this lady, if you want to stream, if you want to write a book, anything you want to do, you can reach out to her, and she is more than willing to help you in any way she can. As am I, as is Johnny, as is everybody on this panel and most of the Bangers. So much talent in this community. Tony Teflon writes children's books. Johnny the Irish Wildling / Johnny Giant Spain / Johnny Indie Boots is working on a novel that I have heard some readings for that is really great. I mean, so many people in the community have something going on. Hit on everybody's icon in the chat and sub. Christy does some great narrations. Mackenzie does great fanfic, and is going to do more. And is going to get something going. Just everybody, so much talent in the community is just my point. And so with that, I want to start first by Elamar. So your pen name or your your pseudonym, is that what they call it? Yeah. It's Catherine May Stevens. How did you pick that?
It's a combination, actually. It has meaning to me. It's kind of combo of my real name, and some of that is Yeah, first of all, my real name, it just doesn't sound bookish. Like that's what authors do. If your name doesn't sound like it, flows great, or it's appropriate for the book, you can always change it. You can apparently you write a book, so you made up stuff, so you may as well make up your name. And this is what authors can do, and anybody can do that for any piece of work or artwork that they do. So I decided to change my name. For that. Plus, this book is kind of not something that I want my kids to find right away because they're not old enough for that. So I figured, they better not find my name out there. Eventually, they'll find it, and they know that I wrote a book, but they don't know. They just know I wrote a book. They cannot find it. If they want to, they'll find it. They're very smart kids. But why make it easy for them? Let them work for it if they want to really. Yeah.
Right. And that's very clever. Also, I know some of the people in the chat have read the book and some have not. We're going to let you know when there's going to be spoilers ahead. For instance, the last 30 minutes of the chat, we're going to do Q&A where there might be spoilers. So we'll let people know who don't want to hear them. But I promise you, you really couldn't be spoiled because this book is in parts. And I think all it would do to you is make you want to go out and get it today and Kindle it today. Also, I want to start with give us a little background just about yourself. I know we also talked about this the other day in a stream, but give us a little background about where your accent is from and everything like that. Just a little bit about yourself, what you're comfortable sharing.
Oh gosh, a lot of questions. No, so about myself. Well, accent is from Poland. So that is the Polish accent that stayed, and I'm not planning on changing it. I like that. I've been here forever. Came in as a kid, started high school here. I had a really easy start, no worries. I was just chilling, being happy. So that's where I'm from. What else? I have a family. I have a husband and I have children, and they're very, very nice. Let's just say this way. Life is good. A lot of support of my family, especially when writing the book. A lot of understanding. Not everybody knows about my book because I don't. I share it with you guys because I love you guys, and you are my friends, and we choose friends. We sometimes. I don't want to say we don't choose family because I love my family. Everybody in my family is awesome, but this book is not for everybody, so I'm choosing not to. Not everybody needs to know about that, but all the people that I care about and who would enjoy this book know about it, and they were supportive of me when writing it. So that's very important. Find people who will support you if you're thinking about writing. You don't need to tell everybody about the stuff that you're doing. You don't own anything to anybody. If you think that somebody will make it harder for you, you don't need to tell them what you're doing. Just keep it for yourself and share it with people who are going to be supporting you. So kind of like an advice ahead of time. Yeah. I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
And just going to the chat for a minute, Moni G says, I like your accent. Accents are sexy.
Hey, thank you.
All right. Okay.
Do you want to do like a back and forth, Jen? Maybe like you throw one of those and then I'll say something about the book, let her kind of explain something from the book, and then we go back to you. I mean, it's up to you, however you want to do it. I'm just asking.
Johnny, didn't you say you did a little bit of an overview of the book?
Yeah.
Why don't you do that? Why don't you do a little overview of the book? And then we'll go into a little bit more explanations, and then we'll get to the question section.
All right. Well, hopefully I can do it some justice.
Before you go to the overview, let me ask this first.
Mm-hmm.
So you've told us a little bit about yourself. I want to know, though, is writing always something that you did in high school or in the college? Did you participate in creative writing? Have you always written short stories, or were you a journaler? How did you get started writing? I mean, how did you know I want to write a book?
I love these questions. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna say it every time probably, and I mean it. I'm just not just saying it or not. I'm not saying, oh, great question, because I don't know how to answer. They're great questions, all of them so far. um, but I always had stories in my mind. Like there was never a time when I didn't kind of daydream. And don't get me wrong, I was a kid who was everywhere, and I had lots of friends, so I was not. And there's nothing wrong with sitting in your room and kind of writing. My stories were happening live, like real time. I was somewhere, and I would be the craziest kid trying to like, I came up with the most crazy pretend stuff you could. I don't know how I survived my childhood. My parents don't know half of the stuff, and nothing bad, just dangerous sometimes. So making up stories. So instead of just having them in my head, I decided to basically maybe put them on paper. But I didn't know that you can write according to your own style. I always thought you have to follow rules, and obviously there are rules, right? But I tried story writing before, but when I showed it to a couple people, basically older people who wrote stuff, they said, "Oh, no, you have to follow this formula." Formula, okay. So I stopped. And then something basically snapped at me saying, wait a minute, this is my life. I'm going to write it the way I want to. And if somebody doesn't like it, they don't need to read it. Or if they don't like it, they can learn from me and not do it my way. So I decided to keep writing.
And do you have any creative writing classes? Or I know you graduated college. I know your background is in psychology. So I know you have the required literature classes and English classes.
Yeah.
But did you take any creative writing just to get, just to see some of the technique and whatever, or no?
No, actually, I'm a rebel, kind of rebel. No, I'm very conforming rebel, if that even exists. I'm always in the middle. I'm like we were talking right then. Like I'm the rational part, and I'm the crazy person. So I don't know which side to pick. So I'm a crazy rational person. I never took any classes for that. I took basically my background is in psychology. I have master's in psychology, hence my analyzing of everything. So I never took any classes like that because I felt that I did research before taking any courses that were elective. They were never required for me. Obviously, I took English and I took literature and I took all that stuff that was required, and that was great. But never had to take anything like creative writing, and I chose not to because after researching some professors, I decided that they were great at it, but I needed something to help me flourish, not to kind of tame me, and I decided to just do it my way, wing it. And I kind of winged it, so I hope it's okay.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great read. A book anybody can pick up and read. And why I normally wouldn't consider it my genre if I had just been looking for a book to buy, but I'm so glad I did. And I also want to just say that, y'all, sometimes maybe give something you wouldn't normally give a chance, and you would be delightfully surprised, as I was. Now I want to take it over to Johnny and let him get us started with a little bit of the overview of Titans from the Stars.
Well, thank you. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm going to try to let Elmar explain some stuff. But to simply call this book a love story would be a false statement. It does have a lot to do with love and the power of love and the power of light and, light against dark, the age-old question. And you have the main characters basically are aliens, but that's a bad word for it because they're soul travelers. So they inhabit different bodies but look the same. It's very complex. You've got these watchers or sentinels, as they're called in the books, that are overseeing things. And there's even the possibility of a dragon. I kind of want LMR to explain the Sentinels a little bit and kind of who the soul travelers are, if that makes sense.
It does. But before we get into that, let's explain a little bit about this. So, at first, you're thinking the main character of the book is Adara, who these, like you said, aliens, which is not really a good. The Titans, right, Elamar? They are the Titans, which is
they're called. They were called in the past Titans. That's all the stories that people heard in the past. One of the names that people had for them, hence the legends or Titans. They were called many names.
Okay, so we've got Adara, who at first you think the story is mainly about her, but then it shifts, in my opinion. But it is about her, and basically there's light and there's dark. So these beings live with us on Earth, and they appear to be human, but they have much longer lives than humans, and they can shapeshift, I guess, if you will, when they get their powers. But before they get their powers, they have what's called an awakening on their 18th birthday, where they remember basically that they have lived many lives before. And when they turn 18, they remember these lives and have their memories. And they also mate for life in general.
Yes, actually, the only clarification is that not that they remember their lives before them. Adara is a special case because the new souls that come in, that are born to the soul travelers, those are the souls that are just kind of, I don't want to call it limbo, but kind of just waiting there. They're waiting their turn to be born. So these are, in a way, new. They're old. All of them are old souls, but they are new to Earth. When they're born for the first time, it's a privilege to be born here. It's a privilege to be alive. So they're all waiting their turn. So they lived. They don't have a memory per se of what happened before, because when they're in that void, there's nothing to remember. I mean, they're not able to remember. Most of them are not able to remember what happened before. There are exceptions. Later on are going to come in. There are exceptions.
Okay. And she is a special case.
She's a special case.
Okay. Yeah. And generally they mate for life.
Yes, because they usually have somebody from the past, and they have to wait. Sometimes their partner is already there, or sometimes they have to wait for their partner many years to be born.
Okay. And in the beginning of the first book in the series, there's going to be 3, correct?
3. Right now there are 3. There may be a 4th one, depending on. I know how the story ends. I'm just kind of being creative of how I get there.
Very good.
How much input I'm going to put into that. Yeah.
So at the beginning, we have the birth of 3 children. Now, I think it's important to also say that for some reason, they're supposed to be one time out of the year when they're not supposed to mate and try to procreate. But for some reason, these couples did anyway.
Yes, they don't kind of remember what happened. It just happened, and
almost like something come over them, and they couldn't control it, and they were all very worried about it, especially Adara's parents, because she had special looks to her when she was born, and it was obvious from her birth that she was extreme, and even before her birth. We get some narrative before she's born that she almost, I believe, like her mother can hear her thoughts in the womb when she's in the womb.
Yes, I mean, normally you would know the name. For them, it is normal to hear, because the child they don't pick names for their children. Their children already come in with names. That's why some of them are, just because my reasoning behind it, just because the name is common to us, doesn't mean that that name isn't. That name was there before in the past, and just because there are names like that now doesn't mean that those names came from somewhere. And the children who are born, they already come with names, so we don't normally choose a name. That's why he was like, "Wait a minute, we knew her name is Adara. Like, why are we adding destiny toward to the name?" So basically, they come with names, and that's normal. But it may not be the case for spoilers for the end of the book, but we're kind of talking spoilers a little bit. A little bit. So that is common. That is a rule for them to have their name and to share it through that connection with a parent. but that's not the case for everybody.
And I think it's also important to mention that one of their powers is that they're telepathic.
Yes.
Okay, so Adara, as with the children she's going to have, and we're going to get into that, they can communicate with others of their kind without even opening their mouths.
Yeah.
So with that, we start with these 3 children that are born, and there's actually a 4th that's born, because you guys, the Titans, there's the one, it's a privilege to be born on Earth and live this life, but also there are those who, because they can control humans if they want, by making humans to be very suggestive to humans. Like, for instance, one of the first things in the book is when Adara's mom is fixing to give birth to her, and she ends up at a hospital, and they don't have to eat, by the way, but she sends, she's a little bit worried because she's noticing that Adara's, some of the things that you wouldn't notice in their kind right away, she's noticing Adara has right away, and she's a little bit worried because they copulated, or she was conceived on this one night when they're supposed to not do so, even though they really don't even know why. So she sends her husband off in search to get her a salad, and the cafeteria at the hospital is closed. So he uses his powers, which he doesn't like to do because he's one of the good ones who doesn't think they should take advantage of humans, that they should live amongst them and help them and coexist with them and not take advantage and rule them, so to speak. But he suggests to the guy, no, you're going to sell me this salad, and you're going to leave the $10 on the cooler that it was in, and everything's going to be okay. And he doesn't like to do that, but that is a harmless thing, where the Dark Lords, which we're going to get into a little bit more, they would use it to their advantage in life and in business and in everything else. And they want to kind of make the humans, make us slaves, kind of, if you will, because they consider themselves superior. So you've got 2 factions within the Titan, I don't want to say universe, but within the Titan race. The ones that want to control the humans and kind of make us slaves, and the ones that want to live amongst us in peace and do good things that would make things better for Earth. And with that, so then I want to get to
Johnny, I think wanted to say something.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Johnny.
I just saw him unmuting. That's why.
Go ahead.
I didn't really. I wanted to mention before all that, you have the reason they're on Earth is because their planet was destroyed, and we don't have much backstory as to why. But in the prologue, it mentions the Beast is mentioned, and I wouldn't know what that is. Also, you have these sentinels who seem to be controlling the souls as they go in and out. So they're like the Watchers from ancient times, the Anunnaki, or whatever you want to call them. Also, Atlantis is in this book, which is that's a great scene. It is an amazing scene. That would translate well to screen.
Awesome.
And that's in the book.
I just wanted to add that.
Go ahead, Johnny.
I just wanted to add that about the Sentinels, and I wanted to kind of get LMR's take on what they are exactly, would that spoil the book, the next book?
No, I can do non-spoilery stuff for that. Do you want me to enter it now? Is it okay, or do you want to wait for?
No, I think that's a good place to go. But give us a little, but also tell us, especially for the people in the chat who haven't read the book, what the Sentinels' purpose are, how they're kind of, I guess, the watchdogs of the Titans is.
So, I just wanted to check if I'm not muted. I did that last stream when I was talking and I was I was muted. So anyway, they are kind of gatekeepers in a way, because we are on Earth, and that world over there, they are not the only ones. People are not the only ones, and there are different realms. Like in the prologue, and whoever read it in the beginning, there's that gate, and you can see the gate is they're standing in a void, right? And they can get into the world, but that is also a hint that it's not the only thing there. There are different dimensions, and they have control over that. But the fact that there is that gate and that it opens from time to time only should give kind of like a heads up what's going to happen. There's a reason why the gate is closed, why only from time to time you can cross it, and why there are rules. And like, what can you do? Like, when can you not cross it? And so yeah, they're kind of like watchers. They're gatekeepers. But there's a little bit more to them, and they basically allowed the trolls, the soul travelers. In a way, some are trolls. Those bad guys, but they keep things from entering, and they, in a way, when gate is closed, it's kind of bad and good. Like if there is this issue where you cannot cross it, it means nobody can get in, and nobody in a way can get out. So that's the for future thought. Yeah, I don't know if I answered it like you wanted, or if there's anything else you want me to add. Yeah, but go ahead.
That was great. Go ahead with your question, Jen. That was fantastic.
Yeah, no, that was a great explanation. And so these children are born. It's actually 4 of them. They know that and they volunteered to actually kind of die. And I want you to explain this, Elamar. Mm-hmm. These 4 actually volunteered because they know there's a war coming, that the Dark Lords are going to try to take over Earth. And these 4 actually volunteered to kind of give up wherever they were and come back to try to combat the dark forces.
Yep. So they decided that they saw that destruction. They saw how I'm relating it to the past, where we can see all those wars and tragedies and disasters happening, and that the soul travelers, the good guys, can see. And there's a story also behind it, why they're good, why they're bad, why they're good. It's not like they were bad in the beginning. Something happened, like being born on Earth. Earth is a funny place. It can bring out the best and worst in people, and not only people. And since they came there, they didn't know that it's going to happen. They didn't know that they're going to be kind of in different, I guess, polarized, different sides. That was kind of like an oops. Yeah, we didn't research it before coming here. They're kind of like a research mission. Not all of them came in. That's why there are those souls waiting to be born, because if everybody would have been born, that would be, the Earth probably would not be doing well right now. So their mission, they're all those people, those original settlers who came there, they were kind of like a trial team to see what's going to happen. And yeah, things didn't turn out well. They turned evil, or the evil grew in them, and those who were good were really good, and there's like this battle. Yeah, but I think I digressed. I'm sorry if I missed the question. I'm just kind of like going on a tangent right now. If you can redirect me towards the question, I'll appreciate it, Jen. If I missed the question.
Okay, well, how about this? Oh gosh, I lost my train. Okay, so there are 4 children that have volunteered to kind of give up I guess the life or life force they have and be reborn and come back.
That's right.
But the problem is, they know that till their awakenings, they're not going to remember. These were 2 couples. And they're not going to remember anything. And we have Adara, which is one of the girl that is born to Eve.
And Michael.
Yeah, she was previously with a character, Ethan.
Yeah,
and then we have the other character.
We have Oh gosh, I always mix up. See, when you change character names, which I kind of did, there's a book. I don't want to say what book it is, but there's a book with and I haven't even heard of that book when I was writing my book. So the character names were a little bit different, and I had to change some of the stuff, which I wasn't too happy about because I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, I took it from that book, which I didn't. That's why I prefer to change it than to have it associated with some other books. But yeah, so we have Adara and we have Ethan. They were a couple before, made it for life when they first came here. They were the original lords who came here. And then we have, I keep changing his name, and I'm gonna say Johnny. Please help me.
Braden.
Braden and
Braden. Emma.
and Emma, exactly. So and Emma. So they decided as a couple, two couples, to come there and just basically forfeit being having all those powers.
Yeah, they volunteered
in a secret to basically end their life as it was, to leave and to be reborn during the time, and that's a special time when they are born without any boundaries, without anything that can stop them. They wanted to be stronger. That's why they needed to be born during that time. But to get somewhere, you have to give up something, and they gave up their lives as lords and risked what actually was happening to them, where Emma,
let's talk about that. So these couples mated on this night when they knew it's the one night of the year, I believe, that was forbidden for them to try to mate, but for some reason it's almost, they say, like a spell come over them, and they did, and one of the children, Emma, has been born to a Dark Lord family.
Actually, not right away. There was an issue where things were happening because the tension is rising between I'm going to say them, but they're not all bad because they're just towards more evil. They're towards, the darker side. I don't want to call it darker.
They just want different things.
Yeah. So things happen, and Emma actually did not make it the first time. It was many, many years, I guess. Not many, but it was later. She originally, that's, I guess, a spoiler. Close your ears until I do this again. So she was not born with them like she should have been. It was only 3 children who were born. That was
okay, and then they were waiting on her for a long time and trying to find her.
Yeah,
Braden
was waiting because basically when they awake, on their birthday, they get all their powers, they get all their memories. Technically, children get their powers on the 18th. They don't have memories because they just, they're new souls to the world. But those 3 children that were born, technically should have been 4, they got all the memories because they need the memories. They need to remember why they're there, why they were born. And the tricky part about it is that not everything went as planned. Actually, a lot of things kind of went, okay, this way and that way, where you have 2 couples that are split up completely. And that is a huge tension on the mission. And the mission is the most important part, but how can you fight your mission if you can't get your life in order? So that's also
and in the chat, Eduardo says the alignment. That's right. These couples, they were not supposed to try to procreate during the alignment. That's correct, right? Of some kind of universal.
Can I make a point?
Yes, please.
Later on in the book, Ethan and Adara have the same type trance that happened the night of the 4 people's birth, at least in my opinion.
I think so too, and we're going to get to that, but I think it's crazy because I think, okay, we're going to get to that. So basically, Adara ends up falling in love with someone, a human that we know of so far in book 1. That was actually a friend of the family. They live in an estate called the Water's Edge. Explain the significance of that to us, because I have a feeling that the water and just the placement of that estate has something to do with being able to keep them safe till they have come into their powers.
So yeah, there's a map. I don't know if those who have the book actually. It should also be on Kindle edition. That map that I made, it's actually showing that their house is kind of nestled between different bodies of water, and so it's kind of helping with, I don't want to call it a spell, kind of a spell.
In white magic, water can kind of be a barrier, or in black magic, water can kind of, and salt can kind of be barriers to anything getting through. So that makes complete sense to me as somebody who is familiar with things like that.
Yeah. So technically that they're able to, like, they can like block their mind from thoughts, intrusive thoughts from coming in, so they don't hear. Like somebody cannot just like, oh, I'm gonna read your mind. Hey, let me see what you had for dinner, or they can basically block it, and they can. So you have to allow somebody to read you in a way. With that too, where they live, they can put barrier to, this is I'm claiming this area as mine, and I'm gonna block any thought or intrusive person physically or just thought from entering it. So this is like their safe place. They can choose that. They can make it. They can extend it.
Very good. Very good. Also, I want you to explain now, before the children were born, because I could be right and I could be wrong because I'm only on book 1, but it seems to me this is a little bit ice and fiery as far as the prophecy. There's a prophecy and they talk about it. And at first they're thinking that it's the 4 children that have come back. But I'm starting to think maybe it's not. Maybe it's the triplets. But explain to us the significance of the prophecy and them waiting on these particular children to be born.
So the warriors, the prophecy is, so the world was just kind of in battle like we have currently and in the past too. Like things are out of whack. Things are just not adding up. Things are just going wrong all the time. And it seems like there's chaos over chaos over chaos. So, and behind the scenes, thinking about it is like, are humans really that? Oh, sorry. Are humans really that bad? Is it really them causing it, or is there something different? Because how can there be so much evil in the world? So, technically, in that world over there, it's not just humans. Humans are kind of like puppets, and those who want to rule will rule behind the scenes, and humans won't even know that they're being pulled this way or that way. They think that they are making all the bad decisions, but technically it's somebody else kind of pushing them to do that. So the world needed saving. It needs saving. And to break that, those puppets, those strings, you have to bring somebody who's strong enough, who can fight and unite, and maybe kind of pull others to their side without fighting, possibly, maybe. And that's when they come in. That's when the prophecy was given, that there will be those who will sacrifice themselves for the to save humanity, to save the world, to break those barriers, to open the gates and break the chains in a way.
And I just want to say really quickly, this book is very beautiful in the fact of eternal love, even when somebody doesn't love you back. Okay. Yeah. I think is a big theme in this book. Also, being good for the sake of being good. You know, is it okay to take advantage of people, like I was talking about, just because you can? Just a lot of things in this book, but definitely, not only eternal love, but love that knows no boundaries. Love that no matter what somebody does to you, no matter how bad they hurt you, if you truly love them, you love them, and you'll take it. You will take it. Johnny, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I want to make a good point to that, because also it's so complicated, because nothing like this happens to soul travelers much. Adara is a special case because, if I'm correct in my reading, she's half human, right? So that's why she's able to love Kyle. So that's where you get this very interesting. I wouldn't even call it a love triangle. I would call it more of a triple connection.
And I think that would also bring up the age-old question: can you truly love more than one? Do you have more than one great love in your life? You guys know what I'm saying. You know, a lot of people say, that was my great love. That's it for me.
Yeah.
That's the end. I know a lot of people feel that way. Certainly, people have been married forever and, they live and die together. But, you look at somebody who maybe was widowed and then they found somebody else
Yeah.
and they love them just as much as they ever loved their first husband.
Mm-hmm.
Or wife, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of adding to the fact that love, this is something that I was told long time ago when I, again, kind of a little bit more about myself. I was told when I first was pregnant with my first, I commonly call her baby because she doesn't want to hear that she's a baby. But when I was pregnant with her, I worried, actually, no, when I was pregnant with my second one, I was worried, like, how can I love somebody as much as I love my first one? That was unreal to me. Like, how can I already have this person that I love so much, my first kid. How can I love anybody else like that? Any other kid? Nobody will replace or take away from that. And a very wise lady said to me, you never you never have to share, like, divide love. Love basically multiplies. It's never shared. Love is so strong that it's such a weird thing. You never have to divide it because it basically copies. You multiply it. And she was so right. She was so right. I basically, after my second one was born, I saw her again, and I basically gave her a huge hug. Said, this is the wisest thing I've ever heard. Love being basically multiplied.
Very smart, very smart. Johnny, you have anything to add to that?
I got lost in the chat. What were you talking about?
Okay, we were talking about, this is I think this book definitely brings out the age-old question: can you love two people at once? Can you have more than one great love in your life? I mean, certainly for children. And also, I think, you love people in different ways for different reasons. And you definitely have different relationships with love. And you know what I mean? Like, I love my parents different than I love my husband. Not more or not less, but definitely different.
Right. And as far as just straight up love goes, not counting kids, there's definitely more than one person out there for everyone. The universe is so big, and our world is so big that there's at least two people out there that you're perfect for, and you're probably not with the perfect one anyway. You'll never find them.
They're funny.
I think it's definitely a tricky thing. But I mean, certainly you can talk to somebody who has lost a spouse, who never thought they would be happy again. And then I always say you find love when you're not looking for it. That's certainly how it happened for me. But I would certainly say that I've been in love more than once in my life. So I would just say, though, that I do believe, for me personally, that you can have been in love and loved more than one person in your life. I mean, it just depends on the circumstances, the time, and what's going on in your life. Anything to add, you guys?
Yeah, it's so complex. You think love story, you think love triangle. No, there's so much going on here. Ethan sacrifices eternity. You have to think about that. Just put that into perspective. Someone willing to sacrifice eternity to let the person you love be happy. Great writing, LMR.
And while we're going there, I want to read an excerpt from the book, which happens right after, because during the book and after the children are born, and so other things are going on, of course, but Ethan has finally begun to accept the fact that Adara is not in love with him, and she has chosen Kyle, which is he's a human, and he lives near the water's edge, and his parents he's human, and friends of the family. They grew up together. He grew up with all the other children. And I want to read an excerpt, and this is right after Ethan basically lets Kyle know, I love her so much that I'm going to let her go because she has chosen you, and I am going to let her be happy.
I also want to say that I think Adora still loves Ethan, is still in love with Ethan, but
I think she's confused, extremely confused, and always will be. Because I think I can't give away too much in the book, but Adara and Kyle end up together. They have children together, which we're going to get to. This is basically after Ethan has let her go, and she's going to be with Kyle. And this is basically a love scene between them, and the children that Adara and Kyle have are basically conceived on this night. They stood there for a moment when Adara said, feeling the weight of the evening crashing over her once again, I need to get out of this dress. She took it off as she made her way to the shower. So much to wash off, she stated, thinking about the long day they had. She saw Kyle was walking behind her, loosening his collar and unbuttoning his shirt. The water was warm, and the lather felt soft on her skin, calming her, helping wash away the tension. I love being with you, she whispered between her breaths as the water slowly washed over her face and shoulders. I love making you happy. He kissed her stomach. Water was dripping down her breast and falling on his head. He slowly kissed his way lower and lower. He always had a way of putting her in a good mood and getting her mind off whatever worried her. She giggled. That does make me happy indeed. But I was thinking about something that we both wanted for a long time. I feel that this time it's different. He looked up and with both hands wiped away the water that was pouring over his face. He smiled playfully, giving her a mysterious look. Well, for that, I need to go up. He slowly kissed his way up her stomach, her breast, to her neck and lips. He lifted her up and pressed her back against the wet stone shower wall. He smiled and asked in a comically serious voice, a boy or a girl, holding her thighs on his hips. How about both? She pulled herself closer to him, embracing his hips with her thighs, crossing her ankles behind his back. Are you sure you're up for that? That may take all night, he warned and looked at her jokingly. We have all night and more. He carried her out of the shower and laid her on the bed. Their bodies were sticking to the silk covers. He knelt down by the bed and kissed her thighs, spreading them apart. His lips quickly found a way between her, and he felt how soft she was down there. As he moved his tongue, he could hear her moan softly, and he felt her fingers running through his hair. She was so wet. After a few minutes, her increased breathing and her stiffening back indicated she was close. He knew what she liked, and he knew exactly how to give it to her. Just as she was coming, he used his fingers along with his tongue and made her come quicker and harder. She grasped the covers in the intense wave that flooded her senses. Now it was his turn, but he knew she wanted more. She always wanted more. One was never enough. He loved making her come. She was moving impatiently on the bed, waiting for him to give it to her again. He turned her around to her knees and stood behind her on the floor. He spread her legs apart to match his height. He thrust himself into her. She gasped for air as he pushed in. He pushed again and again, just the way she liked it. Slow, deep, and steady in the beginning. He could feel her giving in. Not long after, he heard her asking him to go faster. He held her hips and thrust hard and fast. He felt her buttocks stiffen as he entered deeper with each move. Now he could feel her back arch and tense up, and he thrusted his entire length deep inside of her. Then gradually he felt her muscles relaxing as she angled her bottom towards him and seemed to open herself even more. He looked down and gasped at the view. His penis entering her, sliding in effortlessly into her opening. He thrusted his penis in and out of her. Each move and the sight of it sent pulses down his spine. She was in front of him, taking all he gave her and asking for more. Seeing that, he could not hold back anymore. His movements were forceful and rhythmic. He felt her clinging to him and pressing onto him as he was pressing onto her. The release swept over him suddenly. He filled her, holding her hips tight as he fought to keep her buttocks pursed upwards. His body was overtaken by intense pleasure. And that's it, y'all. And I want to just say, they're different than humans. She knows almost immediately that she is pregnant.
I am.
And then I believe gets a message from the Sentinels not long after indicating that, yeah.
Jen, thank you for reading that. I kind of, I'm sorry to those who are not ready for it. I kind of wasn't ready either. But thank you, Jen, for reading it. You gave this thing justice. Let's just say this way. Nobody actually read it to me after I wrote it, so yes, thank you, and I truly appreciate you reading.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you liked it, and I've always been a big reader of romance, though to classify this book as a romance would not be doing it justice. It's so much more. It's a love story. It's a fight of good and evil. It's got fiction. It's got fantasy elements. It's got sci-fi elements. Like I said, it's about doing things for people that will, not might, that will change your whole life. Not even your life, like Johnny was saying, your eternity.
And I don't care that much.
Exactly. For them, it is eternity, and yeah, that is what's so hard about them being separated, because they had, in a way, eternity.
I don't know how to read. I also know I don't.
Also, and if I could just make the comparison for you guys, think about this. Lord of the Rings, the Elvish princess, the one Arwen. And then Ryder, or what's his name? He was a human blessed with longer than normal life, but her as an elf, she way outlived him, and that's also what Kyle and Adara are facing. Johnny?
Yeah. He's still recovering after that being read out loud.
Well,
take a breath, Johnny.
They're facing it in an even more immediate circumstance. Kyle's life is in danger at every turn in the story at this point. He has no powers. He's just a human. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's the Steve from Stranger Things, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
He wasn't an asshole at one point, but you know what I mean. It's so complex, but I don't know where I was going with it, but I just want to say, you know, it's like Margram, he's the tall man, right? Margram?
Yep.
Okay. He seems to have jumped on this opportunity of them falling in love and almost seems to have counted on something like this happening since she was half human. I don't know if this was part of the plan. It seems like chaos, but it seems like controlled chaos. I don't know. I'd like maybe if you can clarify it without giving us spoilers for the next book.
Yeah. So, like I said, I always kind of say it, like we make plans and then life happens. We think we're going to go this way to get somewhere, but oftentimes to get somewhere, you have to take a, detour. Hopefully you'll still get where you're going. So they're kind of, taking detours. Things are happening and you see a different route. Your phone gives you a different way to go to get somewhere faster, to get there with more power, or to be the boss of that moment. And you just take it. And we're not an exception to that rule. Yeah. They do that too. When they see a chance of something being a positive thing towards the battle that is ahead of them, they'll take it. Yeah.
And I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how bad the noise was in my background. I'm so sorry. Just a little background chat. It is Russell's birthday. So we did have a friend pop by or whatever. I hope you guys could hear the reading well enough. Was it well enough?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Okay, very good. And I didn't mean to embarrass you at all, LMR. I just wanted to give an example of how well written this is. But to simply call this romance or adult fiction, it's not enough. This story actually has everything. And let me tell you what, after I finished it, and I think Johnny would agree, and I think he already has agreed, when can we expect part 2?
Oh, that kind of is I was saying beginning of next year, but I don't want to put a date on it and rush it. Next year,
Lamar,
definitely, yes.
is it going to come out when Winds of Winter comes out? Don't
No,
say that.
no, which is never, that book never comes. Okay, ooh, that would be something. No, I'm not gonna do that to anybody. Basically, next year. Let's just say next year. I know what it is. I know what it's there. The whole thing is there. I just need to make it fun for people. I need to make it fun. I need to make it worth their while to read it. Yep.
I'll just talk. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I want to go to another question I have. You guys, in the link to the video is LMR. She has a channel, and she talks about, not only does she do her Westworld on Monday night with Johnny Be Crazy, as y'all know, but she also talks about her writing and her process, and there's also a trailer to the book on there, which Nancy T commented is very beautifully done. If you could tell us a little bit about how you chose your artwork and how you got the trailer together, because the artwork at the book, like the cover of the book, you guys, is very beautiful, and then also the trailer is very well done and very well put together. And if you could tell us a little bit about how those came to be, how you picked who you used or whatnot.
Yeah, so I am, people who know me and we're friends here, so you probably know that I'm kind of like a control freak a little bit. So I like to do stuff, I guess, decide on the things, especially if this book is kind of like my baby. For the artwork, I'm just gonna start with the cover. I took a picture. I don't know if it's gonna show. This is the picture that I took. The meaning behind it, if you read the book, this has a meaning, that has a meaning, and then this envelope has a meaning to it. So I wanted to make it meaningful, and I wanted to be my own stuff, something that I make. There are choices for those who are writing. You can, the cheapest thing, probably the quickest, cheapest thing is to hire an artist who will make your cover for you, who will basically take a picture, do all that stuff. I like to do stuff on my own. I'm a DIY person. I DIY everything that is possible. So I did that. As far as, and there's also, I'm very happy that I chose those who have the book. They'll probably see there's a map. I don't know if it's going to show up. Let's see. Yeah, there's a map of the world, or of the place where most of the stuff is happening. I also made that. I don't even like, it's so much fun because I did not know anything about editing, anything. I just used Word, Excel. I use only the stuff that is for work. I never use stuff that is for fun. So in order to do that, I actually used the YouTube for all kinds of videos. They told me how to do Photoshop, how to create it. Like, I don't even know the half of the names of the programs I used to do the illustrations, to copy paste stuff. There's a lot of free stuff. All those things in there, they can be found for free. You don't have to pay for that. You just kind of go there to those free sites, and those free sites, I think I list them in one of my videos. You can basically get a little bit of, there's a tree, there's a little house, and then you just basically all combine it together somehow in one of the programs that is there, and then you can make that happen. As far as the trailer, I had no clue how to do anything. I did not even know what that you can make videos on YouTube. I had to go to one of my kids, say, "Hey, honey, do you know anything about YouTube? How do people make videos?" So back then, my 10-year-old said, "Mom, yeah, I have my friend. She can help you out with that." I'm like, Yeah, that's okay, hon. I'll go to YouTube and I will check how to YouTube on YouTube. So trial and error, and then I have a program. Apparently, I didn't even know my IT person, my assigned IT person to me. He's on a lifetime contract with me. He hooked me up with different stuff. So apparently, I had all this stuff I didn't even know. I just opened it up and I could create stuff. And I am a very creative person. So if it weren't for my IT person, this would not be happening. So thank you, IT person.
And I just want to say, you guys, this lady here, her generosity of spirit.
Get off my head.
She taught me how to do links.
Nobody invited you.
I honestly did not know how to put a link in the description of the video till right before con. And, you know, she just taught me that. She's helped me with thumbnails. Now I'm even looking into getting a program to do my own. And the same thing. I'm going to have an IT person come over here who's actually going to help me re-hook up my printer because I moved my computer and completely messed my printer up. And I have no idea how to hook it back up. My stepdaughter actually did that for me. And so, yeah, that's very interesting. I think very important. You guys, where there's a will, there is a way. You can Google things and, you know, get somebody else who knows. And I hate to say it, but even sometimes my step grandchildren know more than I know. You know, just don't be. Nobody can tell you if you don't ask. So that's a very good point. Okay, now going to your audiobook, which this is also available on audiobook, correct?
No, this is actually Kindle and paperback. I don't have audio yet because I don't have anybody to record it with. So far,
Chrissy, you better do it. I'm putting you on the spot, Chrissy.
Oh my gosh!
Audiobook.
Chrissy has a beautiful voice. The way she reads it, she can read scary stuff that will basically want me to turn up the light at night, and then she'll read the beautifully calming stuff that I just kind of melt. So she's an artist. There's so many artists here. So yeah, but back then when I was looking into having somebody read it, there are different places where you can get artists. For that, when I heard the previews, they did not do it justice. I don't want to sound bad, but like as an author or an artist, however you want to call or writing, you have this image in your mind and you have this voice that you have in your mind. And so far, I have not found a voice that I get samples from. So that's why I'm not going along. I'm not going with the audio yet until I find somebody who can, make me happy with the voice. Basically.
Okay, that makes complete sense. And I feel like I'd be the same way. I actually have a podcast that I listen to you, and I told you earlier I'm going to shoot you the link to it, where they actually interview a lady who started off real small and then is now actually one of the most sought after audiobook narrators. But she definitely goes into how she got started and whatever. And, you know, I think, and she's open to getting emails and stuff. So, Okay, so moving on from that, does the chat have any questions?
Right. Yeah.
Can I throw out a question while you're looking at the chat, Joe?
Absolutely. Please, Johnny.
Okay. So, let's see. Now, the dragon's blood, which we know is something that can kill the soul travelers. They're very resilient. That's one of the few things that can kill them, right? I mean, they can, I guess, physically be murdered, but, you know. I'll tell you what, explain the rule of a life for a life. Explain that.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, yes, good question.
So when they first got here, sorry, there's like a lot of noise. I'm sorry, I just noticed there's like, okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if it's like a, what do you call it, reverb or something. So when they first got here, they, their rules to be part of the world, and they were granted kind of like an asylum to come here and live. for this to be their new home. But the rule was that they will be there to help humans thrive, to get them to a better place. And then the idea of rule, or like life for life, them being so powerful already, it would just not, they couldn't, the Sentinels, they couldn't risk that something would happen to current inhabitants of Earth. So the rule was made that if they take a life, they have to give their own life. So that will prevent, some murderous attempts at lives of others. So it is very tricky. And then in the book later on, like if they're like, I'm always for it. If there's a rule, there's always, the rules are created to be changed sometimes, or to go around the rules. Or if there's a contract, there's always kind of like a loophole to that. So that's also something to think about. Definitely. Just because you normally day to day cannot do it, there are ways of kind of going around some things. I don't know if I don't want to be too specific, but I'm hoping I'm not being too vague about it.
Yeah, I don't want you to spoil that twist.
Yeah.
Right. But can you just at least talk about some of the ways in which the Titans are a little bit more like things that can really, you know how Superman has kryptonite.
Yep.
Can you explain about the dragon's blood being very toxic to them? And
Yep. So that all happened, and kind of this later on in the story. Again, kind of with the writing perspective of a writer, like a hint for those who want to write, or if you're writing a story, it's never fun to have a character or people who are completely just like you can't hurt them, because what's the fun in it? Like if you can't get hurt, then you already know, they're going to be fine, right? They're going to be fine. Whatever happens, they can be killed. So I obviously wanted those characters to have something that they will have to be careful about, that there is something that can hurt them. There are things that they can survive. They don't need to eat. They don't need to do like much nothing. But if that one thing will be basically be in their system, however that dragon's blood will enter their body, that will be it for them. That is kind of like their way out of here. If you like want to call death kind of way out of the world. So the reason, I don't know if you want me to go into a little bit of how it happened, how they got, how that dragon's blood became toxic to them and deadly. Do you want me to go into that or not?
You mean getting into what like, Nerissa tells?
Yeah, when she has that story. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it is a bit spoilery, but if you're going to read the book, I mean, that's definitely, I don't think you're necessarily ruining the story to tell that the origins of dragon blood, because we don't even know the complete origins yet.
Yeah, you don't. I'll try to make it, go ahead.
Tell the children's story, the one that's the fake one with some truth in it. You know which one I'm talking about? Yeah.
I'll just kind of mention a little bit about it. I'm not going to go too much detail about it, but I'll just mention it. And maybe from a different side. I don't want to, because I truly love that part of the book too. When there's she's a character. She's really a character, and I had so much fun writing her. I say like to some people who know about my writing, it's like, oh, are you done writing this? Are you done writing? Like, no, I'm still arguing with them. Like, I want them to go this way, but they're telling me to go that way. How can I write them if they're arguing with me still? So she was one of the funnest characters to write to write her story. So she's a storyteller too, and not going into too much detail about it is basically, I'll just say it this way: there are consequences to things, to the things you do or anybody does. You may not see them right away, but there are consequences. And whatever happened in that story that she says, something happened, somebody was trying to win something, somebody was trying to take over something, but those actions had consequences in the long run for all the people who had that blood in them, who were from that family. It's kind of like a curse from when Nerissa talks about the story, but it's technically not a curse. It's kind of like balance. Like you take life, or you take the life and yours will be taken, or you do something and you're affected by it internally. So I'm not going to go into more detail because I really love that story. I don't want to talk about it now because I really enjoyed writing it, and I would love for people to see it on their own. Yeah.
I don't know if you see that comment, Jen, that Mackenzie,
Eduardo?
that Eduardo.
I've
Yeah.
got the question right here. Okay, Eduardo has a question for you.
Yeah.
You use several Hebraic names in your book. Any particular reason or only coincidental?
So yeah, with all the names that I was picking, I had so much fun writing or researching the names. Almost all the names, I would say 99% of the names that I have there have a meaning to them. And if you look it up in different not even cultures, different places have different meanings for the same name, even though the name is pronounced or written differently. The meanings are similar. So when I had a character, let's say, and right now I can't remember like everybody's meaning because it's like there's so many people in there, not as many as some other books have, but there's still a lot of people, characters there. But when I created the character, or I actually shouldn't say created them because they were kind of not there. And then one day the whole book was in my head, and I just had to kind of like just get it out because it's too much. That's why I wrote it down. But the people already were there. They were already created. The characters were who they were. It was funny because I didn't have to think much about them because they were already a full character with their flaws, with their how they were, how they acted. And with that, I wanted to give them good names, proper, like just meaning to them. So instead of looking up a name and seeing what it means, I went the other way. I wrote down the meanings and give me the names with that meaning. And whichever name sounded like, okay, that sounds good. And then there's this meaning to that name already. I'm going to pick that name. So that's how I went about naming people. Mostly, I would say 99% of people were named that way, the reverse way. Their meaning, their characteristics, and then I picked the name with that.
I just thought of something. George R.R. Martin's The Ice Dragon. The little girl's name was Adora. I just thought about that.
Yeah, and that name I did not change. I had no idea about that. I had no idea about that there was anything. I had no idea about him.
Really, that was 100% coincidental?
It was, and I was freaked
Okay.
out. And that was something like, oh no, and that actually, I found out about that after I had it published. Obviously, I wouldn't change it after, but some of the things I found out before I clicked publish, so I changed that. I changed some of the names before publishing it, and then after it was published, I somehow found out like, hey, wait a minute, there's this Adara, and like, darn, like no way. So it was really funny.
Well, let me ask you this: when I heard Nerissa, is that so? No Nisa reference. It's just coincidental.
Yeah.
And before when you were giving your explanations about being if you what you do always has consequences. I just kept thinking, well, just karma, really, and then different things have worse consequences than other things. So,
yeah, exactly.
Let me. Anything else in the chat? Questions? And also, I don't know if I told you that was Nancy T's question about about your trailer and your artwork.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So with that, again, just to kind of maybe finishing up about the trailer, the story was read. I found an artist, kind of a voiceover artist. So he did read it for me. But after that, I decided to do my own version of it. So that's why I recorded it with my voice. I think I had 3 trailers, one regular long one, then I have a short one, and then I have the trailer for coming up audiobook at some point. That's why there's my voice in it. Yeah.
Very cool. Eduardo has another, I think what he's got here is actually a quote from the book. I'm pretty sure. Light always wins over darkness, and the darkness only appears when there is a third element introduced. The shadows are casted, and darkness surfaces. As soon as we my phone fell. As soon as we come into play.
Yeah, I love those quotes. I think this is the second quote Eduardo placed here.
Yeah, I'm going to do it again because I feel like I did it justice. Light always wins over darkness, and the darkness only appears when there's a third element introduced. The shadows are casted, and darkness surfaces as soon as we come into play.
Yeah, so that one, if I can, I guess explain it because it's kind of like what is she talking about with it? So the way I'm thinking about it is that let's say, oh sorry, there's still that sound. Can you mute a little bit?
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So with the whole light and darkness, I mean, imagine you have a flashlight, right? And it's an empty room, for example. Well, it's a lit empty room, and you have this flashlight. It's just going to be light, right? Then darkness comes in the minute you have something in front of that flashlight. You put, I don't know, what do I have here? You put the book, right? And there's the shadow. Like you have light, you have a third element added that it automatically creates darkness on the other side. So if you have that light moving around, it always wins. It always gets that darkness. It always cleans it. It dissipates, like it's gone, but it will always be there. So it's kind of like a ongoing, not a battle, but like a dance in a way. I don't want to call it a dance. It's like play, going around. There's always that shadow, and that shadow of darkness only is created if there's a third element. And we are this third element, I guess.
Just like how everything one person does affects another person.
Yeah,
and we don't even realize how much. I mean, like if I leave to go to work and get in a car accident or something, the way that will affect not only both of us, whether it's just by being late to work or bigger consequences. That's what I thought of when I was thinking about there's so many forces always at work, and with all of us here on this earth, and just all the different choices we're making, and the way sometimes we can come together in a bad or negative way.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. That's yeah. Go ahead, Johnny.
Or in a good way. Just
like I take it also in the sense that in order for there to be life and free will, that there must be darkness as well. I take from that quote that you can't have one without the other. Mm-hmm. So there's a consequence just to being alive, but it's not necessarily saying it's bad, which, in my opinion, if you don't have the darkness, you would never enjoy the light, because the light would you'd be used to it. You'd be numb.
Perfectly
I just wanted to add that.
No, Jenny, perfectly said. This is what I always say when I'm on that topic. When I'm on the topic, it's people, and I don't want to get too philosophical, and I can, but I will spare you this. You're welcome. So with that stuff, we need to. Somebody says, "Oh, I want the world to be happy, happy, happy." Yeah, that I want the world to be happy too. But just imagine if you're in a closed-off society where you don't experience pain, where you don't see the suffering. You just you don't know any better. You just think everything is great, and there's just this goodness, and then you may not appreciate it. You may think this is normal for you and for everybody. But when you see the darkness in the world, when you see people suffering, and you can kind of think about it. Wait a minute, I have it really good. Others don't have it like me. So their suffering is making you appreciate your good place where you're at, your happiness, and then you can actually experience being more happy, because not only you're happy, but you can appreciate that you are happy because others are not. Not that you're happy because they're miserable, but you can see their pain, and that only makes you appreciate what you have much more. So yeah.
Yes, it helps you keep everything in perspective. Sometimes when I see somebody go through the line at my work and have to put up a couple items, it's, you just have to remember to be thankful and to understand that everybody's not going to come across the same way as you, because some people might be hungry or what have you.
There's a question here from Eduardo Blanco. if I can answer that. Actually, I was going to answer it in a stream, but that's too much typing. I'm just going to answer it by talking, not by typing, like I'm always in comments. So Eduardo Blanco is asking, any implications in the I don't even know how to pronounce the name I made, Monsanto name. I mean, the multinational corporation. So the answer is no. I really wanted to, and I know about that corporation. It has nothing to do with them or any implication about that per se. But I just wanted the name. The name has a meaning, and I forgot exactly what it means. I mean, I know the general meaning of it. Is it obviously mountain and sacred mountain? I think this is what I wanted to mean, like a sacred mountain, although it may not be an exact translation, but this is as close as I could get to it. And that mountain has meaning to them. So that was the only reason why I initially gave them all that same last name. So just to answer his question, yeah. But yeah, before hitting print on that book, I really was debating, should I not, should I go with that last name? And then I decided to go with that last name, definitely. Yeah, even though there was like kind of like thinking about what it would mean to some other people. Yeah.
Can I throw out another quote at you? From Adora, I believe, when she's under the water at Atlantis,
yes,
sunken Atlantis, where she says, "There's beauty even in death." I thought that's very, like, that gets you thinking, especially with what she was going through in the book. Yeah, I just had to throw that out there. I love that quote.
There was like, I'm sorry, there was, can you read that again? Because I was looking at something and it was buzzing in my ear and I didn't hear you say it because it was, my phone was also, it's connected to the same thing.
It was where Adara was in Atlantis and the situation and circumstances, and a direct quote from her was, "There is beauty even in death," when she was talking to Ethan.
Yeah, I like that too. I guess I wrote it, that's why I like it. No, but I'm so glad you caught on it too, beauty in death, because that, in a way, that's where they lived, right? Again, spoilers for, I don't know, spoilers, but Atlantis, we hear about Atlantis many places, and it was a beautiful place. So I thought that it would be a great place for the soul travelers to have been at some point, and there is beauty. And especially in those clear waters, when you look at it, it's death, but it's beauty in it too. Yeah. But thank you for bringing it up, Johnny.
Chrissy's back. Would you like to tell her about her job opportunity?
Mackenzie has the question. She said, LMR, with everything you do, being a mom, a wife, a working adult, a YouTuber, a writer, a host, lady boss, how do you have time for yourself?
My thing with it is like, and by the way, thank you, Mackenzie. And when I read it, like, oh my God, how do I do it? Like, okay, maybe I should stop because it's scary reading it all. It's like, you never ask a bee how it can fly, because at some point there was like, okay, technically it shouldn't be flying because bees there's the aerodynamics and all that, and technically it should not fly, but that's what the study said at some point back then. And somebody said the good thing is that bees can't read, because if they read that they can't fly, they would freak out. So with this, I don't even know. It's just I don't know how I do it, and it's not like I do. I mean, I'm a mom, full-time mom with full-time working adults, commuting like crazy to places, and I guess time for myself. I mean, this is time for myself. I'm having fun. YouTube is for me. This is not something I need to do. This is something I want to do. So, and again, advice, and I'm sure everybody knows that. But since I'm here, and since you're listening, and since I have you trapped for the next maybe at least 30 seconds. We always have to find time for ourselves. I mean, we are busy. We are adults. We are adulting like crazy. Everybody has their heavy, right, on their shoulder. Whatever your heavy is, it is your heavy. And I never judge people like, oh, I do this. Like, why can't you do that? Just because I can carry stuff, not physically. Well, that too. I'm not a weak person, but if I can carry my heavy, I never compare my heavy to your heavy. Your heavy is your heavy. You can carry as much as you can, and I never judge if somebody has, let's say, less on their plate, because that is their plate. So kind of like just because I do this doesn't mean that anybody else has to do that. If I were not able to do it, I would not be doing this. And priorities in life. But we always have to remember to, because at the end of the day, it's just us. Like, we come to this world alone, and technically we leave this world alone. So when we are in our alone place, you have to be happy with yourself. If everything else fails, you have to be happy with yourself. And at the end, like when you're done, when you're happy to go wherever you go from here, you have to think that, wasn't just there for others, unless that gives you pleasure and enjoyment. Then be there for others, do things for others, right? But make sure that you're doing it for yourself too. Kind of like an advice. Whatever you do, be there for others, but also be there for yourself. And if being there for others is your thing, then even better. Yeah. So.
I think that's completely true. At the end of the day, you're left with yourself. You know what I mean? And you need to be happy in the fact of knowing that you did everything that you could do to be the person that you can sit with by yourself and go to bed with at night. I totally agree. And I love in the book, we get quite a bit of that.
Really?
There's a lot of, some of the kids, there's, they're kind of, Adara is not clinging to everything she was taught at her home. I mean, she had her own ideas and her own way of wanting to do things. And I think, that's another thing that I really love about the story is it's got some strong women in it who have minds of their own, and they're going to do what they want to do. And
yep.
So just so many good things about this book, y'all. And he's a pretty, I mean, you can read it in 2 sittings if you're a reader. I mean, it's a good book.
Thank you.
Does anybody have anything else?
Can I say one thing?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This book is so intriguing, and it has my mouth watering for the second one. You did it so well. You started, the beginning was the end, and the end was the beginning in this book.
Yeah.
So I just almost lost myself in thought. But there's so much complexity to it, and you don't even, it's like the Night King. We haven't seen the Night King yet. We have there's this person at the end. What's her name? That bitch. What's her name? I can't remember her name.
But what did she do?
The girl at the end, the woman at the end that was commanding. No, the woman that was commanding the Dark Lord. What's his name?
Adrian.
I had it written down.
Adrian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eleanor. The mysterious Eleanor. And who is this beast?
Yeah. Adrian's the one who,
wanted to.
He knows something's up with Nerissa and Rainier and Kayla. Y'all,
exactly.
that's Adara's children. Gosh. Okay, so that sexy part I read, you guys, she knew almost immediately she was pregnant, and that how in what I read they talk about boy and girl. What ends up being triplets. So you guys, that's Adara is with Kyle. She falls in love with him, and then she has children herself, and we're into that. They're growing up. And Nerissa is in the end being sent off to train because she's very powerful. And she makes a very powerful statement at the end. And I'm not going to read it, but just, exactly what Johnny said. I need to know what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
I need to know.
Awesome. And Jen, I realized it's probably time. I think we had a specific time spot we have to wrap up at, right? I think it's getting close to that time, right?
It is getting close to that time. I can go till 5:10 if so 6 minutes. Oh, hey Brita, y'all, Fiora Hex is in the chat. Hey.
Awesome to see you here. And it's again, I'm just looking at the chat and I see so many good friends over here, and I always leave it to Johnny to give shout outs. I don't know if that's okay. Johnny?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Jen too. Like if you can, if you can vote to it, yeah.
And the reason we had to end, I know it said 5:30, but I actually got scheduled at work, and I have to be to work for 5:30. So, yeah, shout outs, Johnny, to everybody who's up in the chat. Thanks, y'all.
I will do my best. I haven't been asleep yet since the stream last night. Johnny kidnapped me, held me captive. I don't want to get into it.
Host confirmed, Johnny.
But
yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Cardinal Doomsday, or CD, Maester Blanco, Eduardo, always dropping that knowledge, and then just the beautiful quotes throughout. If you're a Hexa, better late than never. We love you. And Mackenzie L. Burns, or Sasa, as we call her, Sassy Sansa. We've got Nancy T., the best blankets ever. That's right, I think. Huh? We got Chrissy of Old Stones, who's going to make money off of LMR's book by reading going to do the audio book for her. I know you are. Moni G's in the chat. So nice to see you, the one true David Adams. Dropping all kinds of mad, weird comments and links and just doing weird stuff. We don't know what's going on with David. I know I'm forgetting people. Somebody help me out.
JD had popped by. Did you get JD?
And I think I think JD, and I don't know if Moni G was mentioned, and Mr. Cuervo, and then I see you mentioned Eduardo. Yeah, you mentioned. So I'm just kind of going the Nancy T. See, the comments that I can scroll up, they don't go all the way up. So that's kind of a drawback. Felicia, I don't know if Felicia was mentioned. Yep. So thank you, friends, for stopping by. This is so awesome.
Marie stopping by, like Johnny said, better late than never. Thank you.
Rock and roll.
Kev from Bridge 4 stopped by as well.
Right.
He sure did. He sure did.
Shout out.
Okay, everybody, I have to be at work at Dollar Tree at 5:30 to go check like $1,000 items, which is fine. And it's Russell's birthday, and next time you see any of us, I guess it'll be Monday night with Johnny and LMR.
Yep.
What are y'all talking? Episode 3 and 4 of season 1.
Episode 2, because we were
episode 2.
Yeah, Johnny thought he's gonna get rid of me really quickly doing 2 episodes at a time. I'm like, no. We're doing. I mean, I didn't do that. Basically, I'm like, let's see what happens. And we only went through 1 episode, so we're gonna go episode 2 tomorrow. So for those who love Westworld, join us. For those who don't love Westworld, join us. We'll make you love it.
I'll pop in at least to say hey. Okay, you guys, everybody have a great rest of the Sunday. Marie in Australia, Cardinal Doomsday in Australia. Y'all have a good Monday afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, hon. Thank you so much for doing this. I love it.
Thank y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Can't believe it.